Good morning, folks. I'm going to try to make this one a quick one. It never ends up being a quick one. I like talking a lot, have you noticed? But I will simply say that if you are currently farming Vel Sartha, stop what you're doing, go back to signal data. I promise you, it makes sense. So Vel Sartha is the newest Andor unit to come to the farming aspect of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And this happened last week. I believe it was on Wednesday, and there's been a lot of conversation around this topic. Many people have come to my Discord asking me for my opinion, and I just haven't had the time to address it in the way that I normally would address it until today. So, if you have spent the last couple of days farming her, I apologize, but it does make more sense just to wait it out for now. And if you are somebody who is a little bit more antsy, to just buy her shards from shipments. Effectively, let me explain. Vel is a farmed node on Cantina 9C. She is the first character to be newly farmable on the new Cantina nodes. The problem with this is that, as far as we know, her drop rate is exactly the same as every other character in the game. There has been no indication that the drop rate for her is increased. That means Vel's drop rate is 33%, or for every refresh you do, you are going to get approximately 1.98 shards or 2 shards if you are lucky, right? The problem with this is one, Cantina Energy is more expensive by a factor of two over normal energy, and it also refreshes at a slower rate. This is the first time we are seeing a character on a 20 energy Cantina node. And while 20 energy nodes are always annoying because of the sapping of your energy, this makes her incredibly expensive to farm. Let me backtrack a second to the reason why I really wanted to look into this a little bit further. A few days ago, Holy Sick Kit, a Reddit user who I talk to often, I'd like to consider them a friend. Truly, I think anybody that I can have a conversation with that doesn't devolve into just yelling at me and personal attacks is somebody that I consider a friend, even if I don't necessarily agree with them all the time. And they posted an analysis on Reddit breaking down the cost of shipment farming versus the cost of farming Vel. Now, I found this to be intriguing. I only briefly looked at this Reddit post because I don't like other people's analyses to affect how I look at things. And I did ask them permission somewhere down here if I would be able to quote this and look at this if I ended up making this video. So while I came to a very similar conclusion, I did go about it in my own Egnards way, though I will credit this person with being the catalyst for making me jump into this. Here's the deal. When it comes to Vel shards, you are getting 120 energy with your 100 crystal refresh. And I know some people don't refresh Cantina. I don't know why. I think it's a non negotiable. But we have to look at things past the free energy and just at the shipment farming. So if you want to say, well, Egnards, it's free if I don't use any Cantina refreshes, then go ahead. Do your 6 battles per day, or 7, I think it is, 8 actually, with 165 energy. Those are free. Fine. Do whatever you want. But when we look at the cost of actually farming her, right? The signal data that you lose from farming on Cantina 8 is approximately 148.5 crystals in value. Now, Vel shards in the store are 80 crystals per, so that's 160, and that does slightly eke out over getting signal data from farming it itself, though this does not include the cost of getting Zetas if you are farming on Cantina 8. However, it does get a little bit worse if you are somebody like me who is comparing it to Cantina 9, which is a more direct comparison, being that it is those 20 energy nodes. And this math comes directly from my Cantina survey and what you can expect to be getting per 120 energy on those nodes in your signal data. Effectively, you are typically getting about 180, sorry, to 192 crystals in value in signal data, again, not accounting for Omicrons. Now, of course, you can say, Egnards, well, I still need Chirotech. So, Vel is on a Chirotech node and I'm able to get that. We don't necessarily know the drop rate, though if the drop rate is anything like any other Chirotech node, it is very likely somewhere around 22.5%. Um, Personally, I am thinking that the signal data here is a lot more valuable than her shards. And I know that the next thing you're going to say is, well, Egnards, you already have Cassian. I need to get Cassian at 7 stars. Remember that Cassian at 7 stars is not something that you can get right now. And we can only go off of the last era in terms of what to expect. Now, with Darth Maul hate fueled, we got a full 1 month event for him at the conclusion of when the last character became farmable in the era of anniversaries, which means you do have plenty of time. We also have to consider that if you did prioritize getting Cassian at least to 4 stars, that there are still a minimum of 4 event cycles left of the era battle. So when we look down here at the cost of farming Vel, and this shouldn't say Cantina 8, this is what the maximum amount of shards left of Vel Sartha are that you can get for free. Now that max is 128, and you'd have to be really fucking lucky to hit that 128. Like go play the Powerball kind of lucky. That's probably not going to happen. But the reality is, over the course of potentially 3 tiers over 4, 12 total tiers left of this event, it is likely you are going to hit her shards multiple times, meaning that there are free shards still on the table. And because of how expensive she is to farm on Cantina, it makes sense to maximize those shards. So if I were a player in a position where I did not have Cassian at 7 stars right now, and I try to always think like that player because that was me as a player for a very long time. What I would essentially be doing is trying to get Vel to about 6 stars, 100 shards away, and letting the era play out, giving me as many free shards as possible. The unique benefit of Cantina farming is that you can speed it up or slow it down effectively as much or as little as you want. When it comes to a hard node or a fleet node, you are at the mercy of 2 different types of refreshes, an energy refresh and a node refresh. Cantina doesn't suffer from that same problem in that you only have to do the energy refresh. So if you find yourself getting to about 6 stars and you end up being flat, we are looking at a minimum of 7 to 30 days for this event that is going to be coming up, which gives you plenty of time to get the extra shards as needed. However, like I said, I would very strongly consider, instead of burning those crystals on her shards, instead of burning those crystals on Cantina refreshes to get her shards, continue doing your Cantina refreshes and getting signal data, preferably on Cantina Sector 9, and instead shipment farm the additional shards. And in that way, you will win out in terms of value. Now, there are always going to be niche cases. There are obviously players in the early game, the mid game, who say, hey, man, I don't have that kind of crystal income like you guys do at the top. And if that is the case and farming the node is your only option, I get it. I understand. I cannot account for every single player here. But when you are sitting here thinking about efficiency and when you are thinking about the best possible way to do something for a good amount of players, the best possible way right now would be to shipment farm her up to approximately 6 stars. Let those era battles run. Get as many free shards as you possibly want, or possibly can, not possibly want, and then shipment farming the rest at the end, potentially farming towards the end if you get within a very short time frame or a very small amount where you don't want an overage of shards. Now, the happy middle ground here for somebody who cannot afford to shipment farm her, take your 165 energy that is free per day and use that on Vel Sartha. Use that to farm her up to about that 6 stars. Then take all of your paid Cantina refreshes and use those paid Cantina refreshes instead on Cantina Sector 9. That's the way to do it. That's the Egnards way. Again, stop farming her. Don't make that mistake. Be smart, be efficient. Remember that you have plenty of time. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day.